What's up, Honor? So it has been a long wait, but finally Spirit Halloween is bringing back their Pumpkin Nester animatronic for 2025, so let's talk about it. So yes, that is right, everyone. Pumpkin Nester is finally back from Spirit Halloween, which we've waited quite a while for this because not only have we been wanting this animatronic back for so many years now, it's probably one of the biggest ones I've seen people want in Spirit to bring back ever since they started their Flashback Fridays in around 2017. And then after we got the leaks this year in around May or June, it looked like it was very likely that we would get Pumpkin Nester released, but then Halloween came and went, we didn't get him. But now for Black Friday, it seems like we are getting Pumpkin Nester finally released, which is really awesome. Which, for those who don't know, if you never heard of this animatronic, this guy's of course just this pumpkin man, creature, monster, I don't know what, on a swing. And honestly, it's one of my favorite animatronics of all time. I know a lot of people are always on about how they want Barnyard Butcher to return, which I think he's a decent animatronic, not one of my most favorites of all time, but on the other hand here, Pumpkin Nester, another popular one that lots of people want to return, and he's definitely one that I've really wanted to see back for a lot of years now, so it's awesome to finally have a new version out. So pretty much today, I just want to talk about everything about this new animatronic, like some stuff they changed about it, comparing it to the original, and then just some other random details about this guy. So let's of course get right into talking about all of that, checking out a quick demo of him, and then talk about some of the stuff we can notice about the new version right here.
That's a very pretty face you have there. It'll look even prettier decorating my porch with a candle in your mouth.
Alright, so of course, looking at Pumpkin Nester here, of course in that video you saw, there's a few minor differences between this guy and the older version. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying that they don't like what Spirit has done with this new version right here. They say they kind of ruined the prop, but honestly, in my opinion, what they have done is very minor, and some of the differences they have done to this, I think, are some pretty good improvements. Of course, just the overall look of him, you know, they still captured that Pumpkin Nester vibe. He's got that creepy pumpkin head. The clothing is essentially the same, like same arms, feet, swing, and they kept the same animation and everything, so they didn't really change much about this guy. Now, one of the biggest differences to note is definitely with the face on there, which is the biggest problem some people have with this guy, which they've essentially changed the mouth movement a little bit. Of course, I remember the original one. There was some issues where it didn't move that much, the mouth, and it could break easily. It was kind of like, I don't know, it was like more squished together in there, just didn't have much movement. But with this, they've extended the mouth a bit, extended the jaw out, I believe is what they've done, and it allows for a wider range of movement with that mouth, and so it can actually function properly, which a lot of people say it changes the look too much and it just makes it look bad, but honestly, I don't really mind it too much. It still has that overall Pumpkin Nester vibe to it. It's just a very minor change that I think is good because it does allow it to have more mouth movement, which is one issue that the original model did have, so I think that is a positive to this guy. And then other than that, like some other minor changes they've done is the clothing definitely looks a little bit different. It's still that same vibe, but like they definitely changed it up like a little bit. Like they tried their best to recreate it, but they can't get the exact same look. It's essentially there. Then the arms and legs, I don't really see any changes with those. They look very identical to the original model we got. So overall, that's pretty much the new stuff with this guy. He does also, like I mentioned, reuse the same animation. So he has that mouth animation, which, like I mentioned, they changed. Then also that swinging animation where he doesn't swing that much. It's more so his body moves back and forth a bit, but I do like that animation for him. Like, it definitely looks like how the original did, so that's cool. And then he does have the exact same audio lines as the original, which the audio on this guy is one of my favorite audios of all time. So really happy they reused that and didn't try to change it up at all. So yeah, overall, look at Pumpkin Nester right here. Almost the exact same thing we saw in the past, which honestly, it is really cool that they didn't change up too much about this guy, because some other ones they've done in the past, like when they made Young Crouch or Young Collector, I'm not the biggest fan of when they make those younger type animatronics. And then some of the stuff they did with Little Skelly Boy, I don't love that type of stuff that much, so I do like how they just recreate this guy in his original form. Then some other details talk about this guy. It's pretty much the same price, same everything. He's $220, which I believe is also the original price of him, which $220 for again right here honestly isn't too bad. You know, he's pretty big, 5 feet tall, so we'll say that's not bad. One thing I will say though is shipping on this guy is a lot, and not only for me here in Canada, but I've seen some other people complaining that trying to ship it like overnight and stuff is apparently a lot of money too for people in the US. Of course, for me here in Canada, I looked it up, and to get this guy shipped here in Canada would cost an extra $220. And then also I could get it shipped faster for another $150, so I could pay upwards of almost $400 extra for shipping on this guy, which is just crazy. But at least they do have that low price there, $220 USD. And of course, with that 20% off coupon, that brings it down to like $180 whenever they do offer that again. So overall, it's pretty fair price for this guy. I don't really see any issues with that. And pretty much with that said, that's most of what there is to say about this guy right here. Some other things about him is, of course, he does reuse the same item number and listing as they do with any others of these. The height on the website was actually updated from the previous one. Originally it said 4.5 feet, now it says 4.7, so that's interesting. Of course, I have seen some of this stuff where it does say on the wiki that he was teasing the Incoming Madison Scare Park teaser, which we saw his name on this little map that said Pumpkin Nester Court, which honestly, I don't think that was really a hint towards this guy return this year, because there's a lot of different names of older animatronics on the map, so I don't think that's necessarily what that meant, but his name was kind of teased there, and really that's the only teaser we saw towards this guy returning this year. But I think it is also worth mentioning that when they did the factory ISC in either 2021 or 2022, or may have been the laboratory one too, but they did have a picture up on the wall of Pumpkin Nester 2, which was also hinted as return, which that was really the thing that made lots of us think that he would return like that next year or something, but then he didn't end up returning for quite a while after that. But I do think it's also worth mentioning that he was teased in a past ISE, but it did take him quite a while to return. And then also it is worth saying that, of course, there's another version of Pumpkin Nester called Little Nester, which was essentially a littler version of him. Not exactly, it was like a similar type of character, but tinier. And that guy, of course, we saw brought back in 2021 or 2022. So it's interesting that they brought back Little Nester before Pumpkin Nester. Like, it would have made more sense to bring back Pumpkin Nester first because of such a fan favorite he was. But, you know, I still don't mind them waiting on that. And then it does also say on the wiki right here that for Little Nester was similar to Pumpkin Nester, how they did update the jaw, which they did the same on Little Nester, just to allow it to have more movement because the original design had some issues with it. But yeah, we did also see that change in the shape with the mouth with the Little Nester guy too a couple years ago. So overall, that's all there is to say about this guy. So I guess let's roll the outro. And with all that said, everyone, that of course is going to finish it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoy. Overall, really cool to see Pumpkin Nester returning. Definitely want one that I would order online just with how expensive shipping is. Like, over $200 to get this shipped to Canada just seems insane to me. But overall, he is one that I would like to get if they do ever bring to stores, which I do hope they do. But anyways, that's it. Definitely comment down below your thoughts on Pumpkin Nester right here. If you love the remake, if you don't, if it's the one you would buy. And please make sure to like and subscribe. And anyways, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.